PSOs.
Yes.
Anybody who uses the public transport system must be aware of their... Anybody who uses the public transport system is aware
horizontally.
Horizontally.
No. Here's Andrew.
Okay.
Pointing towards your...
Okay, our first speaker actually questioned the idea that people are overreacting to things that happen and projecting them to be increasing and becoming more of a problem. That's a bit like Nazi Germany, you know, people say, okay, right, well, we don't want Jews in the streets, do we? Okay, so it doesn't affect me, so who cares about that?
Yes.
Now, right now, you've got people walking around 6 weeks training with a gun on their hip, 18 years old, with all sorts of powers to haul people out of whatever they're doing, fine them, confine them, and all sorts of other things, which nobody's really kicking up about. Yesterday in the paper, happened to be, about ticket inspectors just beating up on people. Now, 6 or 7 years ago, I was working for the defence side.
The first speaker, he's from Sydney.
Screams. And a guy was being forced to the ground, sat on by, I think it was 5 or even 6 big, heavy ticket inspectors. Looked purple on the face, screaming for mercy. They were just walking past, I nothing was happening. Now I stopped and I said, listen, get off him, you know, you killed the poor bastard. And I got a guy there from, I think it was Royal Doctors Without Borders, to use his mobile phone to take some video of him. And it would have been captured by a video camera upstairs. I called the police on a slot phone right next to it. Now, this guy was you know, clearly in great amount of distress. What had he done? He tried to jump over the stall and save himself a fare, $2 or $3. There's no excuse to go beating up on somebody on the road, severely injured. I myself over here at the petrol station about 6 months ago. I don't know, am I hearing you?
Still not on.
We've only cut 2 of the guys here anyway.
Try it again, the light did come on.
Hello?
Yeah.
Alright, that'd be better.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're watching this happen little by little. They weren't there, what, 9 months ago or whatever? There was no great problem. People weren't, you know, being set upon by thugs or anything on the system. In fact, the times I've seen things happen like this, it's been on the trains. Nobody's on the trains anymore, they're on the station. Now, how long are you on the platform for compared to how long you're on the train? You've been on the train for over an hour to get from Melbounre to here, to the platform for 5 minutes. They hang around the platform doing virtually nothing.
Exactly.
So this is a formula for people just finding the slightest little thing to justify their existence. At $60,000 a year, I went to one of their information nights. There was nothing about it helping the public or you know what the problem was or anything else. It's about what's in it for you. You get 9 weeks holiday, you get all this, you get your health benefits, you get this, that and the other, and you become part of a big family. You know, we're all in this together. That's a recipe for abuse of power. Now, these are Metro guys. Yeah. And there's an organisation now, an online organisation. The guy just saw somebody, some girl being dumped on her head first on the arm.
I thought it was 6 in the past. I thought it used to be 6.
Make it 5 because it's yesterday.
Now, anyway, you're all paying attention, you can see that, so I've got you in my hand of the word.
Lies!
Sorry?
Lies! All lies!
That was to wake you up.
When you're speaking, that wakes up everybody else.
Okay, now, you know, Nazi Germany didn't become a totalitarian state overnight. You know, it's a state of Goethe and, you know, some pretty civilised people. And yet it happens. You know, you walk the streets and see the places these things occur, and people just let something happen a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and eventually you find you wake up, you have done a police station. Now, I've been once in a police state in my life, that was Yugoslavia, 1973, 40 years ago. I got taken off a train at gunpoint, machine gun, and no idea what was going on. It turned out that a bunch of Australians had gone over there to assassinate Tito about a week before, 5th of August 1973. I actually came back and checked on here. I sent my folks over the, you know, I told them about it after I got back from holiday and everything. They sent me over the front page of the paper. Lionel Murphy raided ASIO because Australia was actually backing the Ustasha. Because they were anti-communists. That was all you needed to be on our side. Same with the Yanks. No more questions asked. So,
Confession, I was there in 68.
There you go. So that was a socialist state. I was working at a glider factory, and the Yugoslavians there weren't allowed to send more. I think it was 2 of the members of their family outside the country. And as soon as the holiday started, they were on the first train back home. You know, they were manipulated. That's socialism for you. Don't like it.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a kid now, you're not driving. Every time you go past a train, so look out the window, and there's these two guys sitting there with their arms folded, the dark glasses on, with the uniform and their mace spray and their gun on the hip and so forth, right? Looking menacing.
That's right.
Just looking for trouble. Exactly, that's what it is. It's intimidation, and it turns into harassment when someone says, well, you know, leave that guy alone. Once again, I was coming on a train into Blackburn. The train slows down, these two PSOs are sort of trotting along as the train slows down. I was reading a book, I didn't do them. They got on the end of the same carriage. I've been on the public transport system. But it's going unaccounted. Well, it started to become accounted now that it was underway going. Okay, at that particular time, I wanted to go back and see a show about a mega city or something over the right. So, as soon as that finished, I jumped back on the train, went back to Blackburn, and in front of the two, well, one of the PSOs I recognised, you already. I fronted them, I said, what the hell was going on there? This guy wasn't doing anything in the carriage, wasn't making any disturbance or any noise, didn't even know he was there. And you guys come along, obviously after him. Doors of the carriage open, and he's dragged out, kicking and screaming and protesting. Wouldn't tell me anything about it. All these little boxes are going up now in every suburban railway station. Have you guys got this in Sydney yet?
What's the point of the story? Can you finish the story and tell us what it leads to?
Well, it's the slow build-up of the abuse of power. Kids now...
Like a police state.
Kids are pulled over, just for no reason at all, and these PSOs demand their name, their address, all their details. They write down a little book.
Can you tell us, avoid using acronyms, what's a PSO?
Protective Service Officer. Go and see them over the station over here. No, they're shooters.
No, they're sort of quasi-police, yeah.
There's nobody monitoring them. It's an experimental program.
They're like government security guards, but they have more rights than security guards. Yeah. They have rights approaching police in that they can detain you. They carry guns. Yeah, and they're, like you said, they've only got about 6 weeks training. It's a bit of a sort of like a cowboy sort of cop. That's right.
It's like boiling a frog.
It's like getting prison guards, really, putting them on the street, sort of thing, and treating us like prisoners, sort of thing. Where if they say, "What's your name? What's your ID? Show us your being here." Yeah.
No, it's happening little by little, and because it's happening in a the thin end of the red situation, until this sort of thing, a guy decided to set up his own website, change.org. Yeah. Okay. Now, I guess none of you have seen this document either, right? That came out about over a year ago now. After a bunch of police decided to heavy a Sudanese guy, right? It's in Sunshine Police Station. And they sort of targeted him, right? So this thing comes out of it. And it's all about how you treat, what's the title for it? Field contact and cross-cultural training. Community consultation. Now, when I travel on a train, I'm not a community. I'm an individual going somewhere to do something on my own or whatever else. So they've given rights now to people that are definably different, where that isn't the issue. Here's a few questions here, right? Now this document, I found this in City West Police Station. After, I was coming out of the train here, going down the escalator with my bike, and I saw this little Chinese girl. What she did was just put a bum up on the little section between the two escalators in the central station. Not in anybody's road, anything else. 1 second later, two PSOs wheel around the corner and then beep, 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 target her, right? I couldn't hear it too much noise. They told her obviously to get off the thing, right? There was no problem with that. I thought, okay, that was pretty unneeded. Then they start this trick of getting the book out and starting doing all this, taking this down, right? Now this is a girl from China. China is, as we just described, a communist country, commonly, right? If someone starts to take details down on you with a uniform in China, that's not a very pleasant experience. This girl was nearly in tears. So I came around the corner of the bike and I said, no, hang on, this is not necessary. Why are you doing this? One of them was, I'd say, Bolivian, a woman. The other one was black as the ace of spades, and I think he might be Zimbabwean. I looked his name up, and the same name comes up with the Zimbabwean police chief.
These are the PSOs you're talking about now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two PSOs. Hey, the first one kept a hand over everything. I said, okay, I want your name and your numbers, right?
Oh, they tried to cover their ID, did they?
Yeah, covered it over. I said, hang on. I have a right to know your identity, right?
Yeah.
So you kept on doing it. I said, are you guilty of something? Are you trying to cover something up? You are trying to cover something up. Your name, your identity. I need your identification right now. The other one then started heavying me. A second later, he starts talking to his shoulder and calls the police. So I'm surrounded for 45 minutes by 7 armed police. I'm calling the Central 7. Okay? As soon as my train came, they said, I want to see your licence again, right? I said, you've already seen
so you couldn't get your train, you were delayed as well?
All I wanted is something to provoke some sort of if you refuse to give identification...
Yeah, that's right.
Now here's the thing, you can give it to them already. You can give it to them 1,000 times. If the
and they can ask you again.
Time, you say, no, you've already had it. They can say, you're refusing it, now we're going to arrest you for, whatever. Okay? So this is what the thing is. our first speaker isn't here, right? You're saying, okay, people overreact or whatever else, but if you don't stop something when it's a small thing, you sure as hell aren't going to stop when it's a big thing.
That's right.
And they're getting away with this, time and time again.
Are you obligated to give them the details, or do
Yes.
people do you actually...
I think you are. If you've been on a public transport, or if you're on one, or you just got off one, or you're on a station. If you're just walking down the street, I don't think they have rights then. But if you've just got off a train, then you still can be asked by them.
Well, see, this is where they did wrong with me. When they first came out, probably on the very first night they were out, I was doing a little bit of exercise, walking up and down some of the stairs of the shopping centre. So strictly speaking, outside the station, strictly speaking. And they decided they'd ask me for my ID, so I showed it to them. And at the same time, they were saying, you know, you're not under arrest, you've done nothing wrong, you've done nothing, this is nothing. But they still took down my details.
Like I said, this document, right, is
And they
supposed to
said
be...
that it was in order to show that they were actually talking to people.
That's it. That's it. The excuse they're using is they can force you to divulge your detail. Now you've got your location and the time and everything else, right? They can build up a database on your movements, comings and goings. I'm watching this all the time at Croydon Station. Now one time I was just waiting there for a train. I'll be waiting for 15 minutes, right? Girl comes up, has a smoke. Then three PSOs come on. One's a Mauritian. You can sort of see him fairly far off. But he comes up to me in the face, like I'm meant to take a step back. I said, no.
Yeah.
And the first question to her, where's your Mikey card? Didn't have a Mikey card. She was waiting to meet someone on the train. She said, look, I'm waiting to meet somebody here. I just want to, that's what I'm here for. No, you're in the ticketed area. Okay? This is a 20-year-old kid, a nice-looking young girl who's now sort of feeling like she's in trouble. It is creepy. It is really, really creepy. Okay, so I just took a step around the commission guy. I said, listen, what's going on here? Are you revenue protection or something? What business of yours whether you got a ticket or not? She's not committing an offence being here. And anyway, this is what's happening, little by little by little. Not little by little, it's big by big actually.
Yeah. But were they in their rights to do that? Is that the law?
The law has been...
When you're on a station, I think you can be asked,
You don't have to do anything. You can
Not just ask, demand it, sort of thing.
If I stand on a tram stop, they can demand a Mikey card.
Yeah.
I see.
There's not even a defined area, the edge of this zone of authority or something or other. I'm not accountable. I can tell you, I spent half a day down there at City West trying to follow this thing up. They gave me wrong numbers for police...
to make a complaint or to lodge something against it,
You forget it. It's all set up.
Did you get any response in the end by the government?
An hour before, there was not a single officer in all of Victoria to take a statement from me. Etc. Here's the thing, this is out of this document, right? And this was after they'd done over a few what they call mudfish, the Sudanese and Somalis. We would like to know what you think. This is asking people about this thing, right? What type of information, if any, do you think Victoria Police should be required to publicly report on for local communities with regard to field contact reports? Often in here, their abuse of power. 2. How confident do you feel that personal details recorded for a field contact are deleted from the police database if they are found to be unsubstantiated? How can Victoria Police increase your confidence? Well, I would say, how the hell would you know what details have been recorded? How would anybody know they're unsubstantiated or you would prove it? And it shouldn't even come up. You should be able to go about your business. You just want to go from A to B on the train.
Without being entered into databases to sort of build up a case against you, sort of thing.
Without being intimidated and threatened, and $123,000 worth of box has now been built on East Ringwood Station. So far there are no PSOs there.
Their little station, their little sort of clubhouse.
They're appearing everywhere. Every single station's going to have them now. And these guys are getting $60,000 a year when they're 18 years old. No previous training, no previous anything too much. You've got a gun on your hip, you've got a mace spray there, and you've got a big attitude. And they learn the ethics of Victoria Police, which is not a good combination. But like I'm saying, this is not a great thing now. Okay, they haven't killed anybody yet. Now the police here, right? This thing about death by cop is only because they're trained to shoot for your heart, to kill you. Okay, you see this thing now, the Ukrainian, this big flashpoint in Ukraine, right? These guys, this is a huge thing, right? They say stop, or we'll shoot your legs.
That's right, they did say that, didn't they, on that roadway?
I'll say to anybody, it was a 15-year-old kid killed in Northcote in a roller track, right?
Yes,
he had a butter knife with him, okay?
That's right.
Armed with a knife.
Shot him in the chest multiple times,
This guy, this mongrel who just killed his son with a cricket bat, right?
Yeah.
He was murdered. He was shot dead by police. We had no threat. Murder of a murderer is still murder.
Exactly.
Okay, it doesn't give you the right.
Oh, was he not threatening the police at the time when they arrived, or?
They have guns. There's a leg. Bang, bang.
Yeah.
You're out of action.
tasers they could have
Give
used.
me a 2x4, and you can put somebody out of action easily, right?
Yeah.
If you've got a knife in the hands. I was in Sydney, I was working for Hawker de Havilland, I came back on the train, the headline was about this guy that was shot dead on Bondi Beach.
Oh, that's right,
Bondi
that was
Beach,
terrible, eh?
There's
Yeah.
nowhere to go. He's in the water, you know, you're not going to run away anywhere. Surrounded by coppers, they put about 6 bullets in him.
Yeah.
I said, for God's sake, kick sand in his face, you know? Work for Charles Atlas, you know, that's simple. So this is the thin end of the wedge.
I mean, unless the person is like within, say, 2-3 metres of you and they're running at you with a weapon, like a knife, then I think it's all right to shoot them in the chest then. But if it's in a bit of a standoff when you've got more time, that's right, it should be in the legs.
It's
Yeah.
murder. Okay, so the coroner is going to consider...
And they also should say who's going to do it, and then one person does it, so you don't get 5 shots at the person and there's no way of them living.
Remember that siege they had in Avondale Heights, or Keeler East, where the guy actually, the siege, he barricaded himself up in the house and had a gun, and all of a sudden the cops found, you know, we got a bit of compassion, we're going to wait it out.
And did they wait it out, or did he get killed?
They waited it out.
Yeah.
I mean, that sort of stuff, you know?
They're very quick to find reasons not to shoot when the other guy's got a gun, but when the other guy's got a knife or nothing, then they shoot straight away.
They're putting a very low value on human life. They're literally saying, okay, if we... like I said, this girl that happened to sit on the... You can go down and see it now, you're going to say, well, what's the problem? Every time I go past now, people are sitting there, I say, listen, you ought to be aware. I've seen a girl, she was nearly in tears. You know, these PSOs decided to set upon her for the civil actors sitting on this bit of folded sheet metal. It looks like a seat. There aren't no seats around otherwise. Let's have some feedback here, fellas, you know.
Yeah. I think you make a lot of good points, and especially, you know, there were those new laws brought in called the Move On, those recent Move On laws. Now, I know the cops can move you on. I'm not sure whether PSOs can move you on now too.
Dazzle here now for that thing. Well, you stay where you are. Sorry, mate.
Sure.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether PSOs can use those laws to move people on as well.
Absolutely.
They can?
Yep. Any refusal, they can say, stand on your head. You say, no, I won't. Okay, you refused a
request.
authorised officer's instruction. That's it.
Yeah.
You now be arrested. And that's what the box.
And the whole point of them being supposedly brought in was to make it people not get assaulted on trains, you know? So women wouldn't get assaulted. No, listen, that's what I'm saying. That's what they brought it in. That was the suggestion. Okay, that was the suggestion that they said we're going to make the transport system safer for people who are going home from work late at night, women walking home from, you know, things like that. It was always a bit flawed because as soon as you left the station, you were open to being assaulted anyway, you know? It just moves back the attackers from the station.
That's always an excuse. You know, the Ugandan Department for Brotherly Love or something, right? Where all the torture took place. It's like 1984.
Yeah.
They never say, you know, we're here to you know, make life hard for you and do things to you that you don't want to do anything else.
That's right.
In Germany, you know, back in the 30s, they had SPOs. SPO stood for Sicherheitspolizei Officer, which was security police. Now we have PSOs, Protective Service Officer, means exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And the SPOs became the arm of the Gestapo, who carried out the orders about, you know, finding who was a Jew and who wasn't a Jew, and taking the details down and where do you live and all this sort of stuff. So I've got a $436 fine now for this. You know, I came to this girl's assistance. I said, look, just leave her alone. It's like, you know.
And what is the offence, or what is the fine described as?
Actually, it was for bad language. Mate was there with me.
Just one thing, and it's 436 for that.
I'll tell you what I said. I'll tell you what I said right now, right? Public relations. This guy's got bipolar. We've been to see a film called The Human Scale. That was about making inner cities more attractive to people again. Closing down Times Square and putting in furniture, putting, you know, coaches to go there, right? All about making places nice like that, and not making things rigid, like putting, you know, seats all in a row or something or other. So here's this girl sitting on a thing up. I'd seen this. I thought, well, this is exactly the opposite. Even Rodson and Doyle was on the show. So that's why I sort of got, you know, up about it, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, when I'm asking for this woman's identification, I said, no, you can't do that, okay?
So you just dropped an F word or a C word or something like that, and that's what you got to find.
He grabbed my arm with a critical eye and said, leave my effing arm alone, will you? That was it, not to them.
And you got a 400 fine, that's outrageous, eh?
Oh no, they jackpotted, here's the point. $237 bucks, and I can't afford to pay that, so okay, how many days in jail are we talking about here? Now I said I was for 45 minutes, I have 7 police officers surrounding me, right? One guy's fingering the butt of his gun. You know? So I said, okay, right, you know, what's going on here? Okay, I want all your names and numbers. So I got about half of them, the guy in charge, oh, you go. Okay, that's why I went down to...
You should write a letter to the Premier, man, and get an apology, you know, because that's outrageous.
Premier? Sorry. But the point is this, you know, this is by little, by little, by little.
Yeah.
The first thing I ever saw was these guys doing over a guy at Southern Cross, a guy that was being sat on by 5 or 6 of these bloody great huge heavies,
yeah.
you know, going purple in the face.
Well, we've seen people can die. At Crown Casino, someone died by being sat on by, for a long period by security guards.
Yeah, it's happening all the time.
Yeah, people get heart attacks.
Two coppers off duty kicked a guy to death outside the Croydon, the Chevron Hotel. They're out of uniform and so forth, right, so it doesn't come anything to do with the police.
Oh, yeah.
He went and saw this film Utopia by John Pilger, right? Now, at the start of the film, about 1 minute into it, and it's on the YouTube where you can see it, right? The copper's dragging this poor Aboriginal guy in, right? There's 2 other Aboriginals sitting there with their head in the house, probably drying out, right? And they're saying to him, stop fucking swearing. He won't stop fucking swearing, right? Yeah. This is the coppers. Think of how hypocritical that is, right? Yeah. Then they give him a slide and head first into the side of the desk, right? And he's obviously out to it, right?
And I mean,
they drag him in the cell and he's dead an hour later. Okay, no charges. There's another one where a Vietnamese guy is beaten up and kicked and so.
Oh, that's right, and he was crawling. He was crawling, yeah.
An hour and a half later. This is murder. This is murder with a uniform on, you know. People in uniform can do no wrong. That's the sort of presumption of all this. And there is no mechanism whatsoever that I can find anyway.
And the notion of being charged for swearing, like unless it's maybe around little children and you're in a threatening way swearing at them, it shouldn't really be a crime because the ABC, which is a government-funded station, broadcasts swearing all the time. So I mean, how ridiculous! And politicians swear, and they even swear on TV. So I mean, it's ridiculous to be fined in the street for so-called offending a PSO who's meant to be trained in cultural sensitivities. And if that's a part of your culture to swear, which it is now in Australia to swear, it's mainstream culture. That's ridiculous.
I wrote a long reply back to this. You know, when the answer to this, or the response to this thing came out on what? The 31st of December, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. You cannot get hold of a copy of it. You can download it from the web if you've got the thing available, but it's just been... And I met 2 PSOs out of about 20 I asked who even knew this existed. So this came about because a bunch of black guys went to court and fought these sort of charges, right? And the magistrate said, well, look, they're being targeted, they're being deliberately intimidated and harassed and you know, incited to do something or other.
Yeah.
So they threw the charges out, and because of what they did, with the help of the Kensington Legal Service, this sort of report started. But what I'm trying to say in these things is, now here's the answer that I think, right? We need to have people stationed in police stations and any sort of place like the transit police here, right? Just an average person, like on jury duty, who isn't hardened, who isn't already on one side or another. And someone comes in, they see someone being kicked in the head, they say, listen, that's not right, stop that. The cops in all these videos of someone being killed don't step in. No
like an independent observer sort of thing, yeah.
That's right, that's a brotherhood. They cannot be relied upon to do the right thing.
And like you said, when you were trying to be an independent observer for the woman that was being harassed, you were sort of intimidated yourself by the PSOs, so you'd go away, wouldn't you? Yeah.
I'm more intimidated. I was charged, like I said. Anyway, the point is that's called a Good Samaritan Act under other jurisdictions and so forth. But this is happening bit by bit, and the kids now think this is normal. They think it's normal for someone to come up to you and say, "What's your name? Where's your address? Show me your ID. Where are you going? What are you doing?" This sort of thing, right? This is what happened in Nazi Germany. We've swapped the SPO, the Sicherheit Polizei Officer, a branch of the Gestapo. Gestapo stands for Geheimstaatspolizei, secret state police, and it's just a branch of them, no more secret than these people are now.
I applaud you for what you've come here and said today and what you've tried to stand up for in the past.